Hi everybody, welcome to Live from Tarkov. We have breaking news today. Wipe is confirmed for patch 12.11 and potentially will be dropping at 3 a.m. Eastern Time on Wednesday, June the 30th. We anticipate a few hours of downtime there, so don't plan to start playing right at 3 a.m. But that morning when you wake up, assuming you are in North America, if you are in Europe or elsewhere, you're going to plan for later in the day. This is huge news. And to cover it all, we brought in CarsonXI. You can find him on Twitch at twitch.tv/CarsonXI, and his links will be in the description below. Let's get to the news though. Hi everybody, welcome to Live from Tarkov. I'm here with Carson, an Escape from Tarkov content creator and 8-year Navy veteran. Carson, welcome. How the heck are you, man?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing great, thanks. And Carson, they just made it official. Wipe with patch 12.11. Are you excited about Wipe? Are you looking forward to patch?
I mean, what the timing, we talked about doing this over the weekend on Monday, and here we are, the timing. I'm pumped, man. I'm thrilled. Seriously. I love Wipe. Wipe's a big day. I think for anybody who's a part of Tarkov, they know that this experience, it only comes far and few between. You only get it a couple times a year, literally. I've only experienced this. I've been playing this since 2019. I've only experienced a Wipe 3 times. 3 times. So this is, like I'm sure we're going to get into, it's mind blowing to me that people actually didn't want this to happen. So I'm excited. I'm really excited. It's so fun.
We may as well start there. There was sort of a divide in the community as to whether or not people wanted this to happen at all. It seemed like it was split right down the middle, with a large camp saying we need a Wipe and a large camp saying we don't need a Wipe, and it felt like there was this warring. Felt like a war on Twitter at times. What did it feel like for you? Like, you were involved in a lot of these conversations.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of first of all, there's a lot of ego, right? There's a bunch of content creators. Everybody is kind of in a way looking out for themselves. So the minute you throw your opinion out there, right, a lot of people want to just dig their heels in and just like, no, I can't get rid of this. I already said I don't want it to Wipe, and now, But luckily, we saw a lot of people. We saw guys like One Peg and so on. When they started to see the tide shift a little bit, even they were like, hey, it looks like it's gonna Wipe, and I'm okay with it. But a lot of other people, they dig their heels in, and it's very interesting. But I will say, this is just my opinion, but I think a lot of content creators are afraid of Wipe, because you got to remember, Wipe really exposes who knows how to finagle their way through the game, right? Like, I know there's a lot of good content creators out there, and I don't think it's nothing against them, but some of them, it'll take them 2 to 3 months to get Kappa. And I think it's a little frustrating when they see other content creators get it in, 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And
or faster, right? In some cases.
Very quickly. They're already moving on to doing other things, right? And meanwhile, these guys are still... Now, not everybody is worried by that. I just think some people just are afraid of Wipe, because there's other things that take place too, right? There's going to be probably a drops event. Other streamers are going to get more attention than some. Historically, viewership is lower for smaller streamers, like even myself, like if it is typically in these time frames. And if a lot of people also don't know, this is more obscure, but guys like Trey24, Toothy, Hyperrat, guys like them, this is when they shine, because they know how to play this game as effectively as possible. And guys like them blew up in the last Wipe because they, first to level 70,
right?
First with tracksuit, things like that. Those are big deals, for the communities. And so again, some content creators, that's intimidating to see,
Everyone's on a level playing field, and everyone's on customs at the same time.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep.
Customs is going to be a freaking madhouse.
It always is. Yeah.
Well, I'm not looking forward to the queue times. Hopefully they're not too long.
Oh man.
We'll see. We'll see. Now, we did also sort of get maybe a time that Wipe is happening. Pestily seems to have confirmed with Nikita that Wipe will occur at 3 a.m. Eastern time on Wednesday morning. We're assuming some downtime there, 3, maybe 6 hours, who knows.
Right.
But yeah, Wednesday maybe, not a Thursday.
Right. Yeah. Not the mythical Thursday. Right.
So yeah, I'm thinking it's going to be a massive day for Tarkov as a whole. But yeah, as you mentioned, sometimes the bigger content creators get an influx of viewers on those days,
For
and it
sure.
can be tough for the smaller streamers for sure. Um, I did want to ask you about these pre-wipe events that we've been having. We had a ton of them over the
We
last
did.
week or two. I just go through a list of them that I got here. We had Kill a Factory, all bosses on reserves, raiders on all maps, 100K
Hmm.
USD extract, Gluhar's on labs, free labs, trader unlocked to end it off. There was a secure container removal, extreme fog. Like there were all sorts of different things happen.
Ad
GPU
fog. Yeah.
changes. Yeah, the fog was the worst for me. Which of those did you enjoy? Which of those could you do without?
Oh man, I think hands down the best one had to have been all the scav bosses on reserve.
Yeah.
I think
Mm.
that was just I think that was that was something I think a lot of us have always wanted. I will say a lot of us were thinking it was going to be customs because customs is the most predominantly played map.
Mhm.
And so we were like, oh, they're probably going to be on customs. But if I had to guess, they probably knew that there's still a lot of new players that come to the game. Strategically, you have to think that this wipe event will bring people back to the game and potentially bring new players to
Yep.
the game.
Mhm.
So where would you not want to put all the scav bosses, right? You don't want to put them on customs. So they probably chose reserve based on the fact that reserve is an underplayed map, primarily for that reason. And reserve is dynamic already,
Yeah.
right? It has dynamic extracts already. It's a dynamic, very, very, very dynamic map, and it's heavily player scav oriented. So I love that they chose reserve. I think that was a great pick. But as far as like the least favorite event, uh, I would have to say it was a toss up for me between the fog and the 100K dollars because the 100K dollars it really brought the worst out of people. I mean, it really
Okay.
did.
Okay. Do you have
Yeah.
any interesting experiences at that extract?
Just a lot of people, pretending to be friendly and then killing you
Okay.
for no reason,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
you'd have like a pistol or a hatchling
Yeah.
or a hatchet, and then people would be like, people would get toxic for their
Yeah.
own reasons, right? People
Sure.
pick their own, it's like Rust, right? It's
Yeah.
very it's just the thing I think people forget is, and I had to remind myself at the end of the day, people pick video games to kind of play out those fantasies that they don't get to do. I mean, why do you think a lot of people play at Tarkov, right? There's a lot of people that wish they could have been, some Navy SEAL, shooting gunslinger, you know what I'm
Mhm.
saying?
Yeah.
And so when they get on, hey, all those morals you think that people have, it goes out the window. So,
Sure.
like I said, I'm not saying it was a bad thing, but it definitely brought the worst out of people. There was a lot of arguments on Twitter about should you
Yeah.
kill
There were.
people at there, and it was just those are things that with them not in the game isn't hurt, right?
For sure.
But
Yeah.
with it in the game, I think it hurts the community a little bit because again, it allows people to be toxic. So I think if you don't if you don't add those things in, like I said, I don't think it hurts the game, but it could it you know what I'm saying? Yeah, yeah. Not adding it won't hurt it, but adding it can hurt it. That's what I was trying to say. So
For sure.
yeah.
I actually had a lot of fun at that extract. I will say,
Oh, it was definitely fun though.
it
Yeah.
was. I did also, like I brought loot to people, and then in one of those instances, as soon as I gave them the shit, I got one tapped in the face by that same
Of
person who just
course.
picked up the loot.
Of course.
Uh, it's like
Never
okay,
fails.
but
Yeah.
okay, like I guess that's fun for you. I don't know.
Right. Right.
But I had some fun with that too. Like we went over there with a whole bunch of friends and we do all sorts of dumb stuff. And I ran into some people, two separate people on one raid. Each brought a backpack full of armbands. One brought red armbands, one brought blue armbands, and they
Nice.
dropped them on the floor and tried to convince everyone at the extract to pick up their armband. It was one like the more wholesome, funnier
Yeah,
experiences
that's
I've
good
had.
stuff.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Love that. Yeah.
That was pretty funny. But yeah, I also agree the fog was not
Yeah, the fog just I don't really see how that played a role. I think we've made it very clear as a player base, and yeah, I think we made it very clear that we don't really like the weather that obscures the visibility because we
Yeah.
already know there are so many issues in this game, whether it's, the AI seeing through things they shouldn't see through,
Mm.
like fog, or, desync and the other, amount of issues that are in the game. So the fog was just kind of like, why? My guess is, and I know a lot of people probably think that sometimes BSG just listens to the player base all the time, but if I had to guess, they sat down months ago or weeks ago and planned out all these, and they probably
Sure.
said, okay, how can we get X amount of events in this amount of time? And they probably were like, well, we need one more or two more, and they like, because you can kind of tell these last ones were kind of like, "Ugh,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah. Sure.
they were kind of weird, but yeah.
The secure container one was interesting, though. I feel like that might have been some testing, and a lot of these might have been testing for
For
potential
sure.
changes down the road. The community seemed to be very torn on the secure container removal,
Oh yeah.
as temporary as it was. There are people who were very mad about it, and I think it was just a temporary thing that I think a lot of people at least want secure containers changed in some way,
For
so that
sure. Yeah.
people can't just stick the high tier loot up their butt and die, and then that loot never gets to go to the winner of that fight.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
that's a big, and I think that is a big deal in this game. I will admit. I know a lot of us players that, are a little more gamer, right? Like there's the community that's like immersion. We want to have it like a simulator. And there's the other community that's like, well, it's a video game. We just like to play games. We do a lot of stuff that some people say is abusive, right? Like stuffing magazines in and
sure.
whatnot. But at the end of the day, we also understand Tarkov, and I don't think anyone will be upset if like you can't take magazines out and or you know what I mean. Like I don't think those are good changes. I think if you
Yeah,
prevent people from being able to do that type of stuff and limit what can go into the container, you're really not going to see people get mad. Those are good changes.
yeah, I
But
agree.
again, gamers will adapt and they'll find ways. I think what is dangerous with containers though has nothing to do, and this is why this goes back to the people that get toxic and stuff. It really doesn't have anything to do with the gamers. The dangerous part, in my opinion, about the container is how does that affect the majority player base, that 90-80% player base that depends on that container so much, right?
Hmm. Yep.
Like they need it for quest items. I mean, everybody uses it for quest items, but they need it for so many different reasons. And if you remove the ability to take items out of raid in your container, yeah, that's great, but you might also find a lot of players that get upset by that. Like for instance, items you need for your hideout. They don't
Yeah,
have to be
huge.
FIR, right?
Hmm.
But you can still take an item out with you, like a
Yep.
corrugated hose. You can get it out of that raid. You might really find a lot of smaller, the newer players getting very frustrated with that. That, oh, I wasn't able to get that out because I died. I just they got to be careful. I know it's
Yeah.
been pushed and pushed for years, but you might end up with a lot of upset players. And then you also go down this route of, well, what is the point of even getting the container? Because we don't really know what they want to do with that container. It may get to a point where like, um, the minute you open that container, it's now lootable. That would be interesting, right? So everything that goes in your container is literally an emergency situation. Like we only absolutely take things out of this container if it's an emergency. After that, it is now lootable. Like imagine that, right?
Oof.
Right?
Yeah.
So we don't
I
really
think that'd
know
be
where they're going
cool
with this.
as long as they give me an unlootable key slot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I'd be
And
cool with
that's what
that.
I mean. I think I think at the end of the day, they're gonna find a way to make it worthwhile. Because at the other end of it, what's the point of me paying for the EOD account? So now, you know what I mean? Like
Sure.
it used to be that like that container was like a gold mine, dude. That container was amazing. It could do so much for you. And now it's like they're pulling it away more and more and more. What are we paying for? I know it's like, well, stash size and all that stuff, but I mean, still. So are you going to reduce how much the EOD account costs because you're reducing the effectiveness of what is in EOD? I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, we can't tell them what to do, but it is interesting. It's something I think should be talked about. It should be discussed. I don't think it needs to get toxic and like
Sure.
people start, throwing tomatoes at each other, but I think it should be addressed though, for
Yeah.
sure. Like if you're going to remove the effectiveness of it, should you maybe calm down with the price of EOD?
Price is expensive.
It's very
It's pretty
expensive.
expensive. Yeah.
It's
That's
not
true.
cheap.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. They may want to look at that. Consider if they make changes to it, significant changes.
yeah,
That could be something to look at as well.
yeah.
I want to get into this upcoming patch a little bit. We've got a lot of different things coming in this patch, we think, and I'm guessing there will be some surprises in this patch too. We've got a factory expansion, a factory boss who looks damn sexy. We've got what else? Weapon misfires, scab karma. I'm sure I'm missing something there, but a lot of different features by the looks of it. What are you looking forward to? What are you looking forward to most of this patch?
I think it's going to be factory expansion.
Yeah.
And I've been saying this before. This goes back to when I was hoping that there would be a wipe. The reason why I wanted there to be a wipe was because if they didn't wipe on Wednesday and they did the patch, right, all you would see is tons of level 70s and 69s pushing into factory with M61 galore, max skills, just farming them. We would just farm him for days and days and days. Now we're all going to be going in there low level, like you got to go do postman Pat, and there's a guy with a giant sledgehammer. You know what I mean? Like you now got to go and put the gunpowder away, And I know a lot of people say, well, you could have reset your account. Well, I'm resetting my account. Meanwhile, there's still that guy farming. But either way, I digress from that.
Yeah, sure.
My point is, I think it's going to be so much fun with that factory expansion. Everybody even playing field, going in there. It's going to be interesting. People go there for the office kills. People go there for the Mosin, the bolt kills. People go there for the Punisher quest line kills. People go there for so many quests. Because they wiped it with this factory release, they did themselves such a favor. To where the new factory can be experienced for what it should be, not like a late factory drop expansion, late wipe. Oh, that just would have been, it would have been so bad. It would have been so bad. So they really did themselves a favor. I think it's going to be fun because remember, last wipe, it was the Woods expansion, which was lackluster to say the least. So
I like the Woods expansion. I mean, they need to add more players to it, but I like the Woods expansion as like a map. As a map.
It is good, but I mean, following the statistics, Woods is a flop. It's not a good map, unfortunately.
What do you mean by that? Following statistics, is that the amount of players on the map?
People just don't go. Yeah, people just don't. People prefer to go to every other. They will now. Granted, we'll be there early wipe, right? Because we got to get all those quests done. You got to do the Tarkov shooter, and you got to go find the letter for Jaeger and all that stuff. Like, yeah. So we'll be there early on, and I think the expansion helped because it did allow people to skirt the map now. Whereas before, when you try to skirt the map, you actually go right by some of the hottest spots in the game. The choke points were massive.
Yeah.
The Woods was really dangerous. The choke points were tough. Now there are no choke points. You can avoid those choke points. So early wipe, I think that's what helped Woods the most is that you can get a lot of those quests done now a little bit easier.
Sure.
Granted, that made Tarkov Shooter 8 much harder though.
Yeah, I think they need to add some players, some TMC spawns to that map.
Yeah, I mean, I think if people are willing to wait, and I think if people are willing to wait in queue, and I think most people have talked about it. Some of the people that play Woods more, I've heard. I think Queen FPS plays Woods a lot. Even she said, like, I think most people will be willing to wait 3 to 4 minutes more, if that means getting a larger amount of players on the map. So. And I think that's another thing that they need to explore is finding ways to keep maps full later on in the wipe. Like you said earlier, we all know we might actually have some long queues on Wednesday.
Yes,
right?
Sir, yeah.
We might.
Absolutely.
But a couple months, it's a different story. So.
Yeah, you're not wrong there. I can say I don't know if you scav much early wipe, but I really enjoy early wipe scavs.
Oh yeah,
I think it's a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to the scav karma aspect of 1211. I'm not sure how it's going to play out, especially without VoIP. But I think it could be kind of cool. And we like we talked about earlier at the friendly scav extract, we sort of saw how it's the friendly nature that scav karma wants us to have. It's not always there. There's going to be people who have really bad scav karma. And I don't think they care.
Yeah, no, I was going to say there's a lot of I think levels to the scav, right? The scav plays multiple purposes in this game. Like one of the purposes is it plays, to get your items that you need for your quest.
Yeah.
Right. So so that's one of the problems is you get that real hot button item as a scav you're not taking chances. Just straight up. You don't take chances with a player scab, because if you let your guard down, he kills you. You lost that item that you've been working so hard to get. Now, however, if you go to like that mentality of like, how do they want us to play the game? Scavving, if you're going in, typically you shouldn't go in with that mindset. You should be going in just to get gear and stuff in general. So you shouldn't be, overly, oh no, I can't lose this propane tank. I absolutely need it for spa tour or whatever. So if you don't have that mentality in mind, I think it typically is a lot easier to make friends, because now you're at a point where you're just playing to have fun, right? You're just going in just to lollygag and have fun. So yeah, you're more willing to take a chance. But early wipe, like, don't hold your breath, because everybody's just looking for corrugated hoses, bolts, and the minute they get those items and they see another player scav, I hate to say it, they're just not going to risk it.
They're not taking any chances.
No, they're just not.
Yeah, if I have a propane tank in my duffel bag, you can forget about waving at me.
Yeah, I may not shoot at you, but I'm probably gonna run away from you, though.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
absolutely. Now, weapon misfires, we don't know a lot about how those are going to be implemented, but apparently they're going to be affected by suppressors, among other attachments, and high tier ammo will also play a role. And it's going to come down to the durability of the upper receiver, I believe.
right.
Now, I've never actually had one happen to me in a game, because I've never had a weapon long enough to go down that far. I've seen some people have them, though. Have you ever had one before?
Yeah. I don't really know definitively if I have, but I really can't say. I've had moments where I've clicked and nothing has happened.
Sure.
I don't know if that's something to do with the game or the computer and something happened, but there was no actual malfunction that was then cleared by the PMC. It was just a moment where you go click and nothing happened. And I had to like click twice and like, okay, what happened? But no, I've never actually seen a misfire, but I think I've seen it happen to someone. I think it was Gino, and he had an RFB.
Yeah, I saw that one. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I've seen him. So I don't know. It'll be interesting. I think some people might actually, it might be an interesting thing to test, is just to go into like, woods or something over somewhere you can probably like maybe you go with a 5-man into factory like for, 6 hours and just grind a gun and then finally see like what each gun does when it malfunctions. So, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see it happen organically though. I think that would be really, really cool to catch some clips on TikTok and stuff of guys getting in real, intense engagements, and then they go to swing and click, malfunction.
Yeah.
Like, ooh, that's a bad feeling.
That's going to be scary. Yeah. Yeah. I never want that feeling in my life.
No. No.
Oh, shoot. Okay. So, patch 12.11 coming Wednesday. Hopefully, fingers crossed, unless, who knows? 3 a.m. Eastern time, maybe. Before we walk away here today, I want to sort of get into so do you think BSG figured all along this was going to be wipe, or do you think they've changed their decision over time? Where do you fall on how this wipe came to be? Because they said in the past no wipe is planned. I'm not sure if I believe that.
Yeah, and I don't really know if I believe it either, because you got to remember, going back to any of the previous wipes, the minute they say wipe, oh my gosh, everybody loses their minds. Yeah. People either quit playing the game until it wipes, or people just get grumpy and go, I wish they would just wipe now. And then also the economy destabilizes itself. Like, they don't even need to do events. The economy just destabilizes itself, because everybody goes, okay, like, I have 200 million rubles, I'm going to blow it all now. So they constantly buy things up, right? And so the economy loses its own self. And then people get grumpy from that. And so so BSG gets all this backlash of, well, wipe now, just go ahead and do it now, do it now, do it now. So from a strategic standpoint, it makes sense to say, hey, we're not planning on it, just to get people to just be quiet and move on. However, what I will say is, I think they also probably, if that wasn't the case, they also probably realized Well, we already said after 12.11, a couple of weeks from 12.11, we're going to open up ETS for Unity 2019 development on Lighthouse. Anybody who knows anything about coding and troubleshooting and engineering knows that that's an iterative process. That's not like we run ETS for like a week and a half or 2 weeks and then boom, we got everything we need and we're done. It's an iterative process. So you do a couple weeks of work, you get data collected, you resolve it, you run it again to see how it works, and you do that iteratively until you get it the way you want it. We already know, based on 2 podcasts ago with Pestily and Nikita said specifically they're struggling with Unity 2019. I think people keep forgetting that podcast. They said that they are struggling with that transition from 18 to 19. So if we really think that that could have came out in August, I mean, maybe it could, but just based on every timeline, if you've been a part of this community, I think most people would know this based on their timelines. If they say August, that's like December. I mean, they said Streets last December, right? And then this year, and now it's next year. So like, don't be surprised if Streets isn't until 2023. So I think it was them realizing either we got to drop it now, because we're not going to be able to do another content drop until, later this year. Or it was like you said, it might have just been a smokescreen to prevent the economy and people, from leaving and stuff like that. Because that's what people do. People will leave the game. I'm straight up. They will leave the game and go, okay, until it wipes. We see big content creators do it because they have the communities to follow them. But even smaller communities, they'll just straight up, hey, I'll take this 50, 100, viewer hit to just play something else.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say. We don't really know what Nikita's ever thinking.
We'll never know, probably.
Right.
But yeah, it is sort of interesting to read the tea leaves all the time. Like everyone's constantly, we got like people translating the documents that come out every morning. It's sort of a lot of fun to speculate on all this stuff. I've really enjoyed it. At least I know some people are kind of annoyed by the speculation, but
it just it's very toxic because I think a lot of people just, again, it's like what I was saying earlier. A lot of people just get on a stance and they dig their heels in and they won't come off of it, But and a lot of people look at it in terms of what's best for them instead of like what's best for the community, what's best for BSG. Like that's the other thing too. A lot of people forget BSG makes decisions based on what they do, not what a streamer does. You know what I mean? So because they got overhead they got to pay for. They got to get people coming in and out. Let's say they wanted to do a drops event. I'm sure Twitch probably has timelines on when these events can happen, right? Because Twitch has their own, servers that they got to worry about. And they know drops events have massive influxes of viewers. So you can't, you know what I mean? Like there's so many elements to this. And a lot of content creators just get stuck on, well, how does it affect me? And it's like, hey, bud, I hate to break it to you, but it has nothing to do with you. You know what I mean? And that's been my thought process is like, Battlestate Games has to keep people playing the game, and we already can tell that viewership has been going down steadily, so that means players are not playing as much. So there's a lot of stuff that they had to do that I think a lot of us just never talk about, like again, just the thought of Twitch being like, hey, you can't do a drops event in July, or you can't do it in August, or da-da-da-da. We just don't know. We have no clue. And we don't actually even know if they're doing a drops event. I'm just saying they might because they have traditionally. They may not. I don't know.
Usually there's something that happens early wipe, some sort of event, right? To bring people back. And maybe it's just the pre-wipe event because we didn't have a pre-wipe event prior to the last wipe. We had the drops following. But this time around, maybe it's just the pre-wipe event. That's the event happening around wipe. Who knows? But there's not a lot of communication, and that's why I think the speculation happens. Is because we don't know, and we want to know, and that's one of the common elements of this game is that there's not a lot of information out there, but people are going to do their best to find out what the heck's going on with it.
That's for sure.
Whether they're right or wrong about what's going on, they're gonna find out.
Exactly.
I have a lot of fun with it. Anyways, Carson, is there anything else that you want to cover before we close out here?
I think that's really it, man. I think we really nailed it. I mean, there's a lot of good stuff that I think we talked about, and a lot of it is we're going to have a lot of answers come Wednesday and Thursday, assuming everything stays on target. But yeah, we're going to have a lot of answers the next couple of days, so I'm excited.
Let the people know where they can find you over the next few days. I imagine you'll be streaming a bunch.
Oh yeah, we're probably gonna stream. I'm probably gonna end up streaming almost every day except for this Sunday. I may need to take a day off. We'll see, but maybe not. But yeah, every day, pretty much 6 p.m., 7 p.m. Eastern, depending on the time. And then, yeah, TikTok and Twitch, probably the two best places to find me. So yeah.
And that's CarsonXI on both of those. Is that right?
Yes. CarsonXI on both. And oh yeah, geez, I almost forgot my YouTube, CarsonXI. I'm actually gonna be making tutorial videos throughout the wipe.
Nice.
Real simple ones, short and to the point. You know, how to find Salewas, gas analyzers, morphines, what items to hold on to that people typically don't hold on to, which items to not hold on to. So yeah, that should be coming out, you know, all through the next 2 weeks, little short ones. But yeah, YouTube, same thing. YouTube at I believe it should just be YouTube.com/CarsonXI because we are partnered on YouTube right now. So
nice, dude. Yeah, I remember you got your 1,000 subs. I remember that.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Happy for you about that. Well, thanks so much for joining today, Carson. I appreciate it. And have fun with the start of wipe, my dude.
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
Thank you, man.
Thanks for being here. Thanks again to Carson for being here. Go give him a follow. His links are in the description below. And thanks to all of you for hanging out on the podcast today. If you're watching on YouTube, let me know in the comment section below what you're looking forward to most about wipe and patch 12.11. If you're listening on Spotify, let me know at Tarkov Reporter on Twitter. Of course, you can find me Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, pretty much wherever you can find Tarkov content, and would love to see you join the Discord as well. All my links are in the description below too. And again, we are anticipating that wipe will occur on Wednesday, June the 30th, with downtime potentially beginning at 3 a.m. Eastern time. Have fun, folks. You're going to enjoy it. But that's going to do it for this edition of Live from Tarkov. Go divide them cheeks. We'll see y'all next time.